I'm gonna diverge this into another discussion.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this I think goes back to fantasy football is the term injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my personal opinion because I've noticed a lot of people in football, and I bet this happens in fact, I know it happens in basketball. Is people will call someone injury prone until it's not happening, then they're not injury prone, or then they're waiting for the injury to happen, but it never happens. You're not injury prone. You're just injured, or you're not injured. That's kind of the two things. That's kind of the dynamic.
See, I disagree with that. Greg Oden and Zion Williamson play otherwise.
So I think that the tag injury prone is unfair to put on people.
Yeah.
100%. But I definitely think there are people that either with how they play or with previous injury history, they are more likely to be hurt. You see it a lot of the times in hockey with concussions, because if you get a concussion, it's a lot easier to get another concussion. So with players, with how they play, so I don't really have much of an issue with calling players injury prone necessarily. I don't think it's a fun label to put on someone, but there are players that, whether it's previous injury history or how they play, they are more likely to get hurt. Derrick Rose is a great example. We all saw that coming. Just how he played, how aggressive he was, how physical he was, and he was only 6'1", 6'2". No, 6'3". He was 6'3", wasn't he? Or isn't he? Acting like he's dead.
Rip Derrick Rose.
Is 6'3", yeah, no, he's 6'3". But with how physical he was, we all knew what was coming, and it still sucked when it happened because he was basically lightning in a bottle, an electrifying player, all of that, and we knew it was going to happen. So I don't think calling someone injury prone is right or wrong. I think sometimes it's just factual.
Well, like Zion, we know Zion is going to be injury prone because his body build and the way he plays. He's obviously going to have issues with his legs and his ankles because he can't sustain the weight at the way he's trying to play.
Is Kawhi Leonard injury prone?
No.
Physically, no. Mentally, yes. I think that he's the type of... Let me explain. I think he's the kind of player that he's going to get bangs and bruises, and he's going to look at it or see it or have a physiotherapist look at it. And out of an abundance of caution, he's going to put himself out of the game just as a precaution to preserve his body, which is perfectly fair. Is that injury prone? No. Is it going to miss games every season prone? Yes.
So it goes back to, for me, me waiting the playoffs more. If I have a team and the Clippers are made to make the playoffs with or without him playing in the regular season, I would rather him play, 50 games, 40 games, 30 games, whatever it is, and have him 100%, because in the playoffs, Kawhi is at times unstoppable. And rather have him be 100% than not have him, or have someone who plays all 82 games, but when it comes time for playoffs, they're either tired or they're underperforming. Give me a Kawhi situation.
But then my question becomes, imagine you're one of his teammates, and you have a guy that's going to take all these breaks and expect you to get him to the playoffs. You owe him that. I don't know. I come from an era of basketball and hockey and all that where you play through injuries. Is that stupid? Absolutely. But
that's very stupid.
If you have a bruise on your shin and there's no damage to your leg and you're going to take 2 games off and still expect your team to carry you to the playoffs, because we know Kawhi is going to be that guy when he's on the floor. We know he's going to be the best player on the floor.
Yep.
But for him to be like, oh no, I don't have to be here. You guys get me to the playoffs. That's all you are here for, is to get me to the playoffs, so then I can be the guy. And I'm not necessarily saying Kawhi is that
doing that. Yeah.
type of person. I'm just...
Oh, sorry.
It's a way to perceive it. I just don't like players missing games because from a fan perspective, imagine you're taking your kid to the game and they're the biggest Kawhi fan and you've got courtside seats and you're expecting to get an autograph from Kawhi and Kawhi sits out because he doesn't feel like playing that night. From a league standpoint, I don't consider that injury prone, but you're missing unnecessary time, and I think that's just as bad because the players are the product being sold.
I agree. But as a fan, I'm a Cavs fan. I would rather miss LeBron or Kawhi or insert the player here. I would rather miss them the day I go to that arena and have a better chance at winning an NBA Finals than getting their autograph. That's just me.
I think and
you would too.
Absolutely, but I think that I hate using these terms, but there's a difference between like a hardcore fan and a casual fan. And the hardcore fan, which I would say we both are, we're more concerned about winning the championship, and that is the end goal, and you don't care how you get there as long as you get there and what gives you the best odds. But from a casual fan standpoint, they have short-term memories. They're the majority of the fan base because most people are just turning on the game and watching it. They're not following the Twitter drama or waiting for the news to break about what KD subtweeted his teammates or if KD has a new burner. Like, they're not following that. They're just flipping on the game, 7 o'clock, watching opening tip-off, and are sad that their favorite player is not on the floor because their favorite player is the only one they know. And then they're turning the game off. I just think it hurts the overall product from a marketing standpoint. Is playoff basketball more important? Yes. Is it a better product? Yes. Is it something I would rather watch and see everyone be at the top of their games? Yes. I just don't know if this is how we get there.
Well, you could granted these are two different sports, you could take the NFL's approach because the NFL a while in the early 2000s said, oh, hey, all our franchise quarterbacks are getting hurt. That probably isn't good for our ratings. So let's implement rules to protect the quarterbacks more. You could, I guess, if you wanted to. Now, I'm curious what that would be, but implement rules to protect star players more than like your average player.
I don't know. Like that, star players are already getting favored calls, and I don't think they should. I think if you're gonna blow the whistle, but make it consistent. I think that we kind of have the opposite of the problem where we're not blowing the whistle, and that's leading to players getting a lot more comfortable making those hard fouls or contesting a lot harder on the outside and jumping into people, and I think a lot of that would be stemming just from following the rules as they're actually written and making those calls. But I mean, refs are human beings, so they're gonna make mistakes and miss things, but I don't think there needs to be like a new rule stopping contact on Luka. I just think you gotta call what you call.
See, I disagree with you in the sense that, okay, I get blowing more calls. I just disagree that it should be a consistent. Life isn't fair, dude. So
Absolutely.
if LeBron either gets a call or a call isn't called, something isn't called against him, it's LeBron. Just because if you're Jaden Ivey, I'm sorry, you're not getting that call. Get to that status first, then you earn those favorable calls. That's just my way of viewing it. I get it's the game. The game is supposed to be, consistent throughout, but life isn't fair. Some people get priority treatment. That's just the way it is.
That is the way it is, but I don't think that's how it should be. I think whether you're LeBron or whether you're Terrence Davis, you should be getting the same calls. I just think we've gotten so accustomed to not having those players get the same calls that we think that's the norm, and it shouldn't be. And I think that leads to a lot more. We were talking about it the other